It sounds like, for the most part, education will still be a prime focus, maybe different vehicles, maybe different subject matter, different ways of approaching it, but that'll still be the prime function.
Certainly one of the prime functions, David. There's no doubt when you bring somebody like a Tom Jennings on, and I had to send him a note again this week when I looked at the thing that he did on attitude. I said, I tell you this before, and I was a big fan of Tom before I ever took this role, even before I ever met him, because I had heard his interviews with you, and I thought, he's so common sense. Tom makes everything that you do, I think I mentioned in the last interview, I'm in the process of writing a book, and the title of the book is Common Sense, Not Common Practice. That's Tom. Tom helps bring everything down to a level that anyone can understand it, which, by the way, it's not just the retail sales associates that have to understand the sell end. The installers need to understand, how is this product sold? What's the expectation of the customer? And so I'm big on education. I've got a training background. Tom, certainly, we're not bringing him in to eliminate that part of him. It's to expand that part of him and give him a bigger platform to have a greater impact. So that will certainly be a part of what we are. Now, how we package that may have to change. It's not enough to have it out there. It's got to be utilized while it's out there. And so we've got,
I guess, as well as.
Yeah. So I think when you talk about surfaces in 2014, we'll obviously be marketing the newness of what we have and some of the things that are different. We'll be talking about the value of membership. And, which to me, again, it's the big no-brainer out there. As a retailer, if you pay $275 to be a member, we give you $500 in tuition money toward training.
Yeah.
If you're focused on your business and you want your people to get better, there is no way in a year you couldn't use $500. So if you're using it toward training and it qualifies, then we're going to give you almost double back what you pay to be a member every year. I mean, I just want to put a big sign up there that says double your money here.
Yeah.
And double your investment, if nothing else, because it truly is an investment in your people.
Well, based on surfaces this year and coverings as well, it seemed like it was somewhere close to a sellout in terms of seminars and educational events.
Yeah, they do a great job. As a matter of fact, right after we get through with this interview, I've got a phone call with Hanley Wood that I'll be talking to them about our relationship and how we can enhance that even more going forward. And one of the things I've asked people about is how well attended are the educational sessions, and they said very well attended.
This year was unusual, as far as I could tell, in terms of attendees. And I guess what that means is you're in the right place if you're in the game of offering education, because people seem to be really anxious. These are the ones that are survivors. They know they have to do something different to
They're vested in their business. These people are willing to put in. But also the thing that's encouraging to me about that, Dave, is Vegas can be a very challenging place to train because every distraction you could have is in Las Vegas. But people that are taking their time when they're in a location like that to go in and take an hour, 2 hours to make themselves better, to learn something that they can take back and invest in their people, that's very encouraging. I've been told by everybody that Hanley Wood does an amazing job with the educational sessions. I'm going to be speaking at one of them in 2014. Tom Jennings will be speaking at one, and so we're really excited to continue that partnership and to be a part of that.
Very good. Surfaces is really what gave new life. I guess that's why WFCA is even around.
It is the thing that makes us stand out. The fact that we built the show, grew the show, we're able to sell the show that gives us the financial stability that we don't rely on anyone to fund us. People have asked before, well, why do you even charge for membership? Well, because people don't value what they don't pay for.
Yeah.
Don't
perceive value.
As a person who used to do a lot of training and traveled all over North America, I can tell you, if people didn't pay for the training, they didn't show up for the training. There has to be an investment that says I'm accountable to something. And that's why we're willing to give back more from a tuition reimbursement standpoint than we take in from a membership fees standpoint. It's because we understand the value of that training, and our overall goal is to help you be successful, whatever your role, distributor, manufacturer, retail sales associate, installer, on down the line.
Now, like we said, Surfaces really put the WFC on the map in a major way. Is the organization, or do you think part of its vision of the future will be to find some major, I'm not talking trade show, but a vehicle that would maybe not even be equal, but would put a new status to the WFCA? Is that something you think that the organization will strive for?
I think I understand what you're asking. One of the things that was on the job description, Dave, when I looked at it, is they want to have a convention every year. Not a trade show, not a selling convention, but an opportunity for our members to get together. If you never have a family reunion, you might not have a family. You got to get people together to understand the value of being part of something. And so we're looking at how that looks. You know, our relationship with Handley Wood, we don't want to do anything that is in competition with them, and that's part of our agreement with them. But we are very interested in doing something that is very training focused and bringing our people together to invest in them on a yearly, maybe every other year basis to help them understand what all we have, where we're going. You know, the old saying, without a vision, people perish. They have to know where you're headed or they're not going to grab onto you. Mm-hmm. And so we've got to share with them what our vision is, and we've got to have a platform to do that. And so I think there will be a general meeting. You won't see that in 2013, but I think starting in 2014, there will be either some regional training where we do it in key metropolitan areas, Chicago, you know, Dallas, New York, wherever, or one general meeting where we bring everybody together.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
I think we've got to.
There's been a lot of statewide organizations, floor covering membership groups mm-hmm. from basically cities, sometimes states, regions, etc. The WFCA has been pretty active in that. People have told me, now I don't know if this is national, but at least in some of the cities, that sort of is passing along with some of the people who are, you know, had been historically members of this and are now retiring, or et cetera. Is that something you see as a potential vehicle for the WFCA to crank up again?
Yes. Yes, and I see that because obviously with a limited staff, we can only reach so far. But as we partner with these affiliate groups, and I had the opportunity to spend some time in the Washington State Floor Covering Association, which has recently changed their name to FAN, the Flooring Association of the Northwest, because they're going to reach out beyond the borders of Washington. What an amazing group. What an amazing group. I mean, very qualified people, excited, vibrant, not dying out at all, looking for ways to grow it more. And I mean, I was at a dinner with them that night and had an opportunity to speak to them for just a few moments. There were 70-plus people in that meeting. And so I think it depends on the organization and maybe even our investment in those organizations. One of the things that I would like to see us do again, and I'll talk to our board about this in July, is bring our affiliate groups into our headquarters in Anaheim, at least the key players, the presidents, the lay people that are serving, and help them understand the power of this group and see how we can better work together. But I do know that our reach and maintaining that reach and helping people understand the reason to stay a member will be greatly dependent on our relationship with those affiliate groups going forward.
And I guess getting younger people into the fold, I guess, is really a...
Yeah, and I haven't been at enough of those, Dave, to say what it is. I can tell you that overall in our industry, we do have a lot of players that are looking at retirement. But if the Washington State group is an example, I mean, Debbie, who manages that group, is she'll be around for a good while. She's got great energy. And all the people that I saw around the table, these weren't people that are looking to quit or retire. These are people looking to invest.
It can be done no matter where you're standing. And I think that historically, I think the people who would become involved in a regional association or a city association were the older guys.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it panned out in the 70s, 80s, 90s.
But if you think about those associations and those affiliate groups, what they're really looking to do is to learn from each other. Exactly. And the power of getting together. You know, CCA does a wonderful job with this. I think they call them rings. They're regional groups that get together. Yeah. The opportunity for dealers to get together on a regular basis, not once a year at a convention, but on a regular basis, or to at least have their email or a small group formed on LinkedIn where they can say, here's my question, how are you dealing with this? How do you pay your retail sales associates? Is it better to do commission only? Is it better to have a salary plus commission? Throw it out to people that are having success there today, because I think I mentioned this last time, Dave, but they listen to each other much differently than they listen to me.
Oh, sure.
Everything I do, they're going to approach it not as if they don't trust me, but they'll hear it through a filter. because they have to assume that I'm also focused on the success of WFCA. But when they hear from somebody else who's doing exactly what they're doing, who might be a single store location just like them, they hear that differently. If it can work there, it can work here.
It has the same problems. Talk about the timetable. As you mentioned, everything starts, I guess, next month in July. How do you see it panning out? I mean, I realize there's no program really to talk about, but you had mentioned perhaps a convention in 2014. Talk about some of the other things you see maybe in terms of a time frame.
Well, it will be very active in the fall. Obviously, whatever we decide in July, we begin to work on it. When I say we, I mean the team out in California, especially Cammie and Tom, who will be on board then. We begin to focus on surfaces and getting everything ready for a relaunch, or at least a reestablishment of who WFCA is and what we can do for you. The true membership drive could begin in the fall, but more likely it begins after surfaces, when people have a better understanding of why membership here makes sense. In Canada this week, as I'm meeting with Melmart, I'm meeting with the owner and with the CEO, and that was their question. Why would WFCA make sense for us as a distributor? It's important for us to package those responses and have them ready so that when we have the opportunity to dialogue with somebody, and Tom and I will be on the road a lot. We are now meeting with people. We need to have that elevator speech ready. So that's continuing. I had created a 5-year plan before going out and meeting with the executive team the first time. I began to realize that until we have a foundation where we understand here's where we are today, that 5-year plan won't have a lot of value. And so I can't tell you where the 5-year plan is. I can tell you this. We'll be more relevant than we've been. We'll continue to be a group that focuses on advocacy that impacts legislatively this industry. I can tell you that we'll grow our presence in Canada. It's very important to me. Some of my strongest dealers in my Shaw network were in Canada. Great people that think outside the box. I intend to grow that presence. And I've already asked the people out in California to do a demographic for me and help me understand where is our membership geographically. And we'll focus on the areas where we don't have strong membership. I can't understand, Dave, how I could walk into any dealer as I travel and explain to them the value of our dealer locator or tuition reimbursement, and they would say, you know what, I don't want to pay your membership fee. I don't see how someone could say that who's truly invested in their business. So to me, the challenge of the sale is not the issue. It's a challenge of relevance. How do we become relevant to them, and how do we stay relevant to their business and their success?
You've been doing this for 10 weeks, I think you said. You certainly had an idea coming in. Here's what's going on. Here's possibly some of the things we can do. And, I'm sure you put a lot of thought into it when you first talked. How's that changed?
It's bigger. It's obviously bigger than my mind was able to accept at the time. I had great advice from Randy Merritt and Vance Bell, Ken Jackson, some of the executive team at Shaw who told me, here's where WFCA is. Here's where you potentially could have an impact. I've met with Vance last week and was able to talk to him about how some of those things are playing out. But the challenge of working with a board, great people. We met at the beginning of May, first time I had a chance to meet with the entire board, not just the executive board. But knowing that anytime you present something, the chances of you getting 100% agreement are because of the perspective people come from. Somebody who's been with the WFCA for years and years goes all the way back to when they paid their own fees to come to a board meeting. And so the way that they approach touching any of that budget is going to be totally different from somebody who says, but where are we going? And you've got to be willing to adapt your conversation, help them all understand. That's a challenge I didn't have. I was blessed with great leadership at Shaw. If I had an idea, Steve Saraki, my boss, would take that idea and he would say, okay, let's run up the flagpole. Or he would say, this is not the right time. Well, now when you have a right idea, you take it, you're convinced it's right, you go and sell it, and it's a go. You don't have all the filters to play it out. So you got to make sure before you throw the idea out there, it's something you're willing to run with.
I've got you. Well, it sounds like you're well on the way. I'm anxious to talk with you after the July meeting.
I am too.
And see what happens.
Very excited about that meeting, and it will certainly be the foundation from which we'll remember the WFCA for years to come.
Very good. The new WFCA.
The new WFCA.
Scott, thanks very much for spending some time with us.
Thanks,
I really
Dave.
appreciate it.
It's always an honor. Thank you.
We've been talking with Scott Humphrey. He is the CEO of the WFCA, the World Floor Covering Association. And this is Talk Floor TV.